All right, welcome fellow believers, searchers of truth, seekers of wisdom, and travelers on the road to parts unknown. It has been a while, but we are back and looking forward to sharing with you. Tonight, my fellow mavens of mystery, we will be taking a brief stroll through an ancient forest where they still find the remains of soldiers from battles 2,000 years ago. Haunted perhaps, but not for certain. Pull up a chair and have a seat near the fire. Grab some cider or coffee or tea if that's your thing. And we'll begin our trek into the midst of time to visit the Nazi Camelot of Wewelsburg Castle. We'll discuss Heinrich Himmler, the high priest of Nazi Germany, and we'll be referencing Christopher Hale's book, Himmler's Crusade, the Nazi Expedition to Find the Origins of the Aryan Race, and also Roland Paul's book, The Nazis and the Occult. You might think that this is dark material, but friends, we live in dark times, so bring a flashlight. Now, Heinrich Himmler is known as many things. He was the second most powerful person in Hitler's Germany, the head of the Schutzstaffel, the SS. He was the architect of the final solution and was even considered the best educated of the Nazi leaders. He was also a chicken farmer as part of his self-actualization to pagan lifestyle and philosophy. And because Himmler was also a practitioner of a mixture of Germanic superstitions, neo-paganism, and Eastern philosophy, though the latter was Aryanized in order to fit into the pan-Germanic ideology, there are different schools of thought in regards to Hitler's views on the occult. Most historians and scholars tend to agree that Himmler was an avid believer and even practitioner of the occult, and while Hitler is the primary antagonist of the Second World War, Himmler's influence really cannot be dismissed. His obsession is often overlooked, though. It was Himmler that was most responsible for turning Nazi ideology into a system of esotericism conditioning the mind, the body, and the spirit of his initiates in the SS. He went beyond the ideology of Hitler and was actually creating religion. Now, if comparing the Nazis to the romantic medieval ideal, Himmler would be Merlin to Hitler's Arthur, his priest, his magician, and in the summer of 1934, Himmler found his Camelot in the form of a castle built during the Renaissance in the early 17th century. This region was the ancestral home to Arminius, who defeated the Romans in the Teutoburg Forest, and it was in the middle of the former pagan Saxon Empire. And according to Himmler's crusade, he wished Wewelsburg to be a pagan Vatican city, where the SS elite would receive spiritual and worldview training. In short, a factory of fanatic, neo-pagan, pan-Germanic acolytes. Scary? Just a bit. Hale continues that in Wewelsburg Tower's North Tower, Himmler knew that he had found the perfect fortress for the SS, a Camelot where he could mold the hearts and minds of his officers. So now, to this end, over 1,000 prisoners were brought in from Sachsenhausen, which was a concentration camp, and they were worked to death, tearing down and then rebuilding parts of the castle, spilling their blood and losing their lives in its recreation. Historically, in many forms of paganism, human sacrifices were an integral part of ritual, blood magic, death magic. According to SS Brigadefuhrer Walter Schellenberg, the castle was adapted to serve as a sort of SS monastery, and there a secret chapter of the order assembled each year. Each had to devote himself to a ritual of spiritual exercises, aimed mainly at concentration, which was the equivalent of prayer, before discussing the higher policies of the SS. Researchers, including scientists, were forced to live in cell-like rooms while investigating the foundations of Germanic culture, mostly made up and contrived. Himmler stated that we need neither a fossilized scientist nor a dreamer. So, to Himmler, the SS was not just an elite fighting unit, but a secret religious order, and each member was a secret initiate thereof. Secret society associated with blood, because in the lower depths of Wewelsburg they would hold ceremonies, in which they would use a swastika said to have been baptized by the blood of their forebears, and touch each initiate with it, thereby symbolically ordaining or anointing them with the supernatural zeal with which they would then serve their pagan ideology. Now we'll talk more about these types of things, daggers with death's heads, blood magic, and ceremonies, more in an upcoming episode on the Fool Society, but we'll end here for now. There are many alive today with beliefs we may disagree with, beliefs which may hold human life in cheap regard, if with any regard at all. But the primary difference between Himmler and others who may now hold those beliefs is that Himmler had the influence and the means with which to bring his ideology to pass. History shows us that ideology alone is not necessarily dangerous, but it also shows us that ideology and the power with which to implement it, particularly on a massive scale, can be a terrifying and even deadly thing. Until next time, stay safe but ever curious as we cautiously explore more at the edge of the unknown.